Okay, good morning everybody. It's really great to see you all today. Just before we begin our workshop, if there is an emergency or fire, we have exits at the sides and we make our way to the early years playground. Hoping that it's not going to happen, just so you know. Thank you so much for coming. We're really excited to deliver this workshop all about reading and phonics. And as you know, I am Miss India, I am the reception lead, and then we have Miss Sophie, the head of nursery. So we're hoping to give you a bit of information from pre-nursery up to reception and how you might be able to support at home and how you teach in school. So, at school we use mostly the Letters and Sounds programme. Now this is a programme that was developed and used in the UK that we feel really covers all of this age group really well with a very clear structure as to how we need to teach children. Now we have phase 1, phase 2, 3, 4 and they go up to 6. Now today we're mostly going to focus on phase 1 and phase 2 because phase 1, the exploring the sounds, is more pre-nursery and nursery based. And then when they move to reception, we start learning the alphabet and the sounds.
So I wanted to start off with phase 1, and phase 1 is what we do in pre-nursery and nursery. And I think many people will go, you're teaching to read at the age of 2? But we're not. We are starting their journey off, and there are many activities and simple things that we do in school that you can do at home that really helps your child to learn to read. So it's split down into 7 aspects. So the first one is we're really listening for sounds. And the first one is environmental sounds. Now you might see the pre-nursery children especially going for lots of walks. And on those walks, we're always using our listening ears, and we say, what can you hear? We might hear the bell ring, we might hear the children laughing, or we might hear the birds if we listen really carefully. It's really asking the children to use that listening and attention to see the sounds they can hear. The next one is instrumental noises, and they use lots of different instruments in school. We're keeping rhythms and listening to the different sounds. We've got our shakers. Can we make a loud sound, or can we do a quiet, soft sound? So listening to sounds and how they can change depending on what we can do with them. After that, body percussion. And really this is clapping, slapping your legs, clicking your fingers, just exploring the different sounds that you can make. Maybe not to snap your feet. And again, you can tiptoe. What sound does that make? Stand our feet. What sound does that make? Really listening to those sounds. The next is rhythm and rhyme. We do a lot of work with rhythm sticks. Also, if we want to get the children's attention, you will see that we often go. Too slow, let's try there. So we've done a very simple rhythm activity, and I've also had everybody's attention. We're all sitting ready with our hands on our laps, ready to start our learning. And we also did 2 songs and singing as well. Alliteration. This is the beginning of listening for letter sounds, and this is the first sound in a word. So what's the initial sound? So my name is Miss Sophie. So what's the first sound you can hear? Sophie. Does anybody know what the first sound is? Yeah, that's right. So we're just asking children to listen to see what the first sound that they can hear in words. And then we have voice sounds. Now we all want our children to talk, but it's also important to learn how to move our mouth in different ways and make different sounds. When we go down the slide, we often go, whee! So it's just making those different sounds so they can explore the sound and movement of their mouth. And the last one, now this is very tricky, we sort of do this in the nursery, and this is blending and segmenting. nursery, and really a lot going into reception. So I've talked about those are the things that we do in school. In term 3, something that you will find in nursery is that we will start singing some songs that are related to the sound. So each sound, or each letter of the alphabet has a special song and a special action that we do. So I thought it might be fun if you can join in and you can listen to these songs. And these are the first 4 sounds that we do with your children. So the first one is S, we're going to make S like the snake. The snake is in the grass, the snake is in the grass. The snake is in the grass. And now we have ant. Now we have ants on our arms. And they cause us alarm. Ants on my arm. Ants on my arm. Ants on my arm. They're causing me alarm. And the next one we do is ch. And we're watching a tennis game, so our head goes back and forth. When I watch a tennis game, when I watch a tennis game, my head goes back and forth. And the last one will be putt. Now when you say putt, you can feel it on your finger. So we put our finger here and feel it. Putt, putt, hands on the pink, pink, pink. Putt, 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 hands on the pink, pink, pink. Putt, putt, putt. And you can really feel it. So all of those little catchy actions, it will help the children to remember. So when they go into reception and they go, the teacher will go, and the children go, oh, I know, they might not recognise the actual letter, but they might recognise the action that goes with it. The other thing at the end of nursery is your child will take home a wordless book. So it'll be a book that you can look through with your child, but it has no words. And this is really just vocabulary and to get your child talking and to get you into the routine of sharing books together with your child. Now, Miss India has made a nice little video to give you an example of how you would share a book at home with your child that has no words.
It's out in town. Now have a look at the front cover. Who do you think this is? Yes, that's Kipper. And what's he holding here? Oh, that's a bag. And what's inside the bag? Carrot. There's cauliflower and mushrooms. Are they healthy foods? Have a think. What do you think the story is going to be about? Oh, what's this here? And this one? And this one? They are different types of transport to get you from one place to the next. I think that one's a boat. That looks like an aeroplane. I think that might be a car. Let's see what this story is going to be about. This is the first page. Now let's look at the picture. Can you tell me anyone in this picture that you know? I can see Mum and Kipper. I don't know him. And I don't know her. Oh, what sort of weather is it like today? Can you see the leaves blowing? And there's something blowing here. I think it might be windy. I wonder what sound the wind makes. Can you have a go?
So that was just a very short example of how to do books that don't have any words in. And it's tricky for you as parents, which is one of the reasons why we wanted to show you that short clip, some of the questions that you might be asking. Now, some children in reception are still on these books. It's not something that happens straight away when they move on to level 1 reading books with words. So don't be concerned if you're that parent going, my child's still on these and it says that it's for nursery. It is an ongoing process, probably for the first of this term. So don't worry yet. And then move on to the phase 2. Now, this is when we learn the alphabet. So you might already recognise some of these sounds, but we're just going to have a little look at the cards first. Now you notice that it doesn't go A, B, C, D, and you're probably thinking, Why is that? Basically, the letters and sounds program that we use start with the letters that are easier to produce, and if you have a look across the sack pin, you're able to make more words and read more words from those first 6 letters. So that's why it doesn't start A, B, C, because there's not a lot of words that you can make from A, B, C, D, E. That's why it goes this way. And it looks like a lot, but we do count them quite quickly. And we repeat. We show them lots and lots of times so that they can see the sound and they can retain them. Now we're going to have a little watch of listening to the sound. This is a video that we made before COVID hit. And it was a fantastic resource. And I don't think everybody has seen it. It's made by the children. I wanted to reinforce that. They don't have masks. We want to teach you the ways to happy sounds. It's a lovely video, isn't it? Lots of you who have children in reception right now, they probably come home making these sounds. It might have just clicked. These are the sounds that they've been learning at school. They're not just making their movements with their mouths. So, blending and reading. Now, this is possibly one of the most difficult aspects for a child. Like Miss Sophie said, in nursery, we try our best to use lots of oral blending. That's when you can just hear it. We're not using any letters at this point. We can just hear and cat. And then, when they get to reception and they start learning that alphabet, those skills come together. Those sounds that they've learned and the blending, and as soon as they're able to do that, they can start using words, which is a magical moment. And when that happens, treasure it, because that is a yay moment for us and you, because it takes a long time. Now, we're going to use an example of fish. This is not what we call a common CVC word, consonant, vowel, consonant, like cat. This is a little bit more complex. It's using a digraph. A digraph is the sh, the letter S and the letter H together make one sound. And the sound is sh. So before the child even reads that word, you need to identify, is it her? But it's her. No, it's not. Okay, now then we try our sound. Let's dot and dash. Let's have a look at the individual sounds. We've got sh. Now what I would do as a teacher is I would get my finger first, and you might want to join me to do the dots. We're going to go yourself doing it a lot of times, maybe in different ways. Let's slow down and try and elongate the sounds. Make them longer. Did they hear it? No. Okay, try again. Let's go really fast. Itch, itch, itch. And hopefully at one point, your child will then blend the sounds together and say, fish! And that's your moment to go, yay, well done! Good job! You have blended. Like I've just done, lots of big movement, praise, repetition will get you there. There are some other ways that we can help you, like getting a car and driving the sounds. If your child is that sort of learner, your teacher will be trying everything within their power right now to make sure your child learns how to blend. It's a big aspect. So let's watch Miss Sophie with her very creative way of teaching blending.
Oh, hello everybody! You just got me playing with my train set. I love to play with trains, do you? We've got a special challenge for you today. We're going to use our train, but we're going to use it to learn to read. Wow! We're going to blend two sounds together to make one word. Are you ready? Let's go.
And the final thing I want to talk about is tricky words. Now, they are tricky to lots of children that don't have the memory of, yes, I know to look at something and say it. If they think, I have to use my sounds. Have a little look here, we've got the phase 2 and phase 3. Like I said, in reception we do start with the phase 2 words. I, go, the, to, go, and into. They are tricky because you cannot use your sounds. And sometimes the teachers do things to help remind the children, this is a tricky word, don't use your sounds, don't go t-p-f. You just have to know it. You have to look and know it by sight. And that's why they're tricky. Some teachers do it actually like tricky words, or in my class we use disgusting. What a disgusting word. The English language is so mean and disgusting because you can't use your sounds. I'm sorry about that, but let's just know it by sight. So we play lots of games with flashcards, or finding them around the house or around the room and being able to look and know it. So that when it comes to a reading book and they've got those words, they probably will start going, and you go, stop, tricky word, or that's a disgusting word. And then they go, oh yes, thank you, that word is the. They're tricky, but they do come home with a reading phonic path, so that you are able to do them at home as well. So make sure you do lots and lots and lots of tricky words, so they've really got it. And phase 3, I'm not going to focus too much on this, because there are some really exciting things going on, and I might end up using words that you don't understand. Like, try that. Try that is 3 letters that make one sound. Right there in chair. And I. Very, very difficult. Now the problem is we don't want children to move on to these because lots of them are 2 letters that make one sound. A digraph, 3 letters that make one sound. And that then really does confuse them. They must be secure in the phase 2 sounds, making sure they've got that the majority of the alphabet secure before they then move on to these ones. And when they do, we'll do lots of songs like the night before, and it's quite tricky for them to learn, but they will be absolutely fine. And that's phase 3.
So obviously we've talked lots about what we do at school, so we just want to do a little section about what you guys can do at home. There's so many simple and easy things, and obviously when your child hits reception, you'll have the reading folders and the comics books and you'll have all of that. But before reception, there's still lots of things that you can do at home that are fun and exciting and really prepare your child so they're ready for their reading. And these are all the activities, and we'll go through giving examples of all of these. So matching, rhyming, letter skills, text direction, handling books, and finally language skills. So for matching, it's important because they're going to have to see letters and match a sound. So actually having matching skills is really important. So playing simple games of snap. You can do that with regular cards where they snap the same number or snap the same picture. Anything where they're seeing that 2 things look the same. Dominoes are great, you know, you can make your own dominoes yourself, paper. And again, it doesn't have to be numbers. You might want to match colours, you might want to match shapes, you might want to match letters. You know, you can make whatever you like with those. Puzzles are fantastic and they can keep children entertained for a long time. And the nice thing is that puzzles, you can have simple ones in pre-nursery, but they're progressive, so you can keep getting harder and harder and harder ones. They're great for attention as well. Shape sorters again, and this really gets their brains working. But it might be a diamond, but they've got to turn it around and spot it so it fits into the right place. So they have to really use their skills to find and match the right shapes. And also when you're at home, you might have gloves or socks. Get your children to see if they can put them in pairs and match them. It's so easy, you don't even need toys, you can just use your socks. And then, ooh. There you go. So then the rhyming activities. You have lots of rhyming activities in school. We do lots of singing. If you go on YouTube and just put in nursery rhymes, you will find loads. And this is great. And even when you're singing, you can be saying, twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. So there's things star. They're rhyming words. So it's really getting your children to listen for that rhyme at the end. I spy, it's great. And you can use I spy for anything. In a rhyming context, you might say, I spy with my little eye something that rhymes with fox. Anybody think anything that rhymes with fox?
Oh, is it fox?
Fox, do they rhyme? Yeah! So that's a really simple game that you can play. And it's great if you're in a car going on a long journey and your children are a bit fidgety, you can pull this game out. You don't need anything there. And singing. And it doesn't have to be children's songs, it can be your favourite songs. But get your children singing. Because that really helps with rhyme and it helps with language. It's a really good, and it makes you happy as well.
So, letter skills. Now, even in nursery, it's just being aware of their environment. Looking around, oh, what's this? What does that say? Why do we need that? It's just drawing attention to letters and the meaning behind them, even in a little context. You may notice we've got lowercase letters. Now, even in nursery again and pre-nursery, we have these letters for the children to play with and for them to become familiar the letters. They can play with them, and they're all lowercase. Now, we really need to reiterate today that lowercase letters are the best way to start with any child in the whole of early years. Because lots of children can recognise capital letters and write them, but we don't actually focus on capital letters until quite later on in reception and year 1. So please try and use your lowercase letters at home. That would be fantastic. Once again, here they are just playing. Letters are amazing. You will be amazed at what they do with them. They might even sort them into colour or shape and talk about it with their friends and play little games. Just have them somewhere and they can play with them. Now this is text direction. So once again, when they're really small and you're sharing a story with your child and let them see the book, it's learning that the print goes from left to right. So you can even use your finger when reading at home, just to show that that's the way that we read, that's the way that we write. Even from a young age, they will then start to get a book themselves, and you might even see them holding it and tracing the words. It's a really good skill just before they start reading, especially if they do read and they think, I'm going to start in the middle. The cat, doesn't quite make sense. If they learn it from a young age, go to the left, right, front of the beginning, all the way to the end, it's a great skill to have.
The big thing is we want to teach children that books are their friends. Books are exciting, and we get so much pleasure. So the idea is you should have lots of books around for your children. Bedtime stories are a must. Every evening snuggle up, read that story so that your child plays books with happiness. And then when it does come to that really hard skill of reading and decoding and blending, they'll still be looking at it with love and excitement because we've instilled that in our children. Go to a library, go to a bookshop, swap books with your friends so they don't get bored of the same books all the time. At school they get to take 1 to 2 library books home every week, so make sure that you share those books. Again, if English, you're not confident with English, just read the story in your own language and make your own stories up. It's the moment of just sharing the book that's the most important thing with your young children. And this one, actually one of the most important skills is language. The most important thing you can do is get talking. If your child has limited language, when it comes to reading, how can they read words if they don't know what they are? And again, lots of parents are really worried about the English. And actually, if they don't have a secure base in their home language, how can we then expect them suddenly to do it all in a second language? So it's really important that at home you really celebrate your home languages. Have them on the phone talking with family members, have Skype conversations, FaceTime, anything to really encourage that talking in all the languages at home. And then at school we can really focus on English as well.
I'd say in addition, this is a really good skill, even when your child brings home their reading books and you talk about it. When they're starting to read words, some people think, oh, they have words now, we don't need to talk about the story. You still need to talk about the story because the words relate to the story. You still need to look at the pictures. Those skills are still important. How can a child understand and read something without getting a full understanding of the whole story? It's very common with children with additional English as an additional language to be able to read words very well. To go, wow, because they have that skill. With their skill and their decoding is up here. Fantastic. But our understanding is here.
Reading aloud with your child is an important part of their education. It teaches them how to speak fluently, listen carefully, and eventually the ability to read by themselves. Here are 5 tips to make the time you spend reading with your child more effective. Number 1. Show them the cover. Before reading to your child, show them the cover of the book and ask them questions about it. This is a great way to engage their interest and work their imagination. Number 2. Test your child's interest and progress. children can be easily distracted. To keep them focused, ask questions such as how they think the characters are feeling. What do they think will happen next? This helps to keep them interested and tests their predictive skills. Number 3. Check newly acquired skills. Stories contain diversified vocabulary. Whenever new words pop up, make them guess the meaning by using picture clues. Break down sentences that they do not understand and constantly ask simple questions. Number 4. Make it engaging. Children tend to be more attentive when the story comes to life. They need to differentiate between characters to follow the plot, so using separate voices and nuancing lines is a good trick. Number 5. Get feedback from your child. At the end of the book, ask your child what they enjoyed or disliked about the story and explain why. Asking these types of questions improves their oral fluency. It also encourages them to form opinions and gives them the confidence to express their preferences more. Any one of these 5 tips should engage your child with reading and hopefully start them on a journey of being a lifelong reader.
Okay, finally, we've got the 3 P's. If you can leave this workshop and go, oh yes, I remember 3 P's, that would be brilliant to help reading your child at home. So pause. It's very easy, especially when a child is right at the beginning of reading, to just tell them, oh yes, this is cat, the cat's that, and it takes a long time. But just pause. And then, okay, they're not getting it. Prompt. Pause, prompt. Okay, what can I do to help them? Look at the first sound, or look at the picture to help them. Just give them a prompt, don't tell them yet. And the final one, praise. Even if they haven't quite achieved reading the word, you tried. You used your sounds, or you had a really good go. And if they did do it, yay! You could decode and blend that word. Good job. Always praise. So the 3 P's: pause, prompt, and praise. So that was a lot of information overload. We do have a handout for you, do's and don'ts that you can have at home. If you do anything, make sure you've got one of these, and on the back, we've got some interactive resources. We've got a fancy QR code. So I hear if you scan it, it'll take you right to it. There we go. Please come and look at the resources. We've got more phase 1 activities on the left, and then on the right, we have the phase 2 activities. And me and Sophie will be here. Please ask any questions, and of course you can speak to your child's class teacher anytime. Thank you so much for coming. I hope you enjoyed it.